Hello to all of my viewers with big drag energy and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be asking ourselves the question, how would I judge RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 3? Dun 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 dun! I'm finally going over this season. I have actually been wanting to do this season literally since it came out. I thought this season was judged in a very interesting way, and I immediately, while I was watching this, I was like, oh my god, there's so many different ways that I feel like I could judge this. And when the season came out, I initially was going to do a video on it. And then I had too many ideas and ways of thinking about how the season would go, so I scrapped it. And then I tried again, like a year ago-ish, I guess. And then I scrapped it because I was still having trouble with it. And then finally I put it on the poll and I was like, okay, if they choose it, it's gonna force me to fucking do it. And y'all chose it, so now I'm doing it. So there are many placements in this video that could change. Literally, you could convince me in 15 seconds. Like, hey, you know what, you should do this instead. And I would say, you know what, you're right. There are so many placements of that. Like, almost half the episodes have a placement of that caliber here. So just to warn you all of what is about to take place. Before we get too deep into the video as well, also, I am currently dealing with a bit of a mouth injury. I don't know if it really picks up when I talk, but I have to kind of I'm producing more saliva because my mouth is compensating, and it's just kind of weird. And I can't really tell if it's truly affecting my speech, but if it is, I'm sorry, and that's what it is. Don't be worried, I'm fine. The rules to remember, as always, are the season has to be as long as Season 3 of RuPaul's Drag Race UK originally was, which was 10 episodes, and the performances and the challenges need to be based off of how well someone would do or how people would predict they would do. So I'm not just going to put somebody in the top when they're originally in the bottom, or vice versa, unless there's strong fan support for that being the case. The goal, as always, is to act as if I'm the head judge and craft the season however I can imagine to make it as fun and eventful as possible, while also being fair with my judging of the season by combining my own personal taste and what was shown to us on the show. Before we go any further though, please like, comment, and subscribe on this video if you wish. I have a lot of fun making these videos for you all. I love doing these. My goal is to eventually get through all of the seasons. I think that'd be very fun. It'll take a long time, but it could happen. So, yeah, keep supporting the channel. Yeah. Anyway, let us get to episode 1. Episode 1, we have ourselves the runway challenge. They have to present 2 looks, one representing their hometown and one representing something that they love. And this is a pretty simple challenge. You're just kind of ranking the runways. And I did switch the placements a bit. Well, first things first, we are not having a top 2 lip sync here. As somebody who has the gift in this scenario of hindsight and knowing that if we don't get a top 2 lip sync here, that means Victoria Scone stays in the competition for longer because she doesn't get injured. That is an incentive to keep it out, but that's not the type of logic I try to work on in these videos, because that's, I'm trying to work on, in the moment logic. But the whole scenario revolving the lip sync is kind of odd, because they don't, preface it until, right before it happens, that there's gonna be one. As far as I can remember, they just, kind of shove it in your face, oh, we're gonna lip sync for the win, and lip sync the bottom 2, ooh, shocker. And it's oh, okay, that's, it felt shoehorned. It really felt shoehorned. So I'm okay, I don't know why we did this, and I think if I was in that scenario, I would have shut it down, because I'm why are we having this top 2 lip sync that literally just for the win that means kind of nothing, when there's also just gonna be a standard bottom 2, you're just adding in, a cute little twist for the sake of a twist that doesn't even really matter. Originally, the top 2 in this episode were Christopher Versace and Victoria Scone. And I did keep them in the high placements, because I do think they both did a really good job in this episode. But I decided to bump them down to the high placements and give Charity Case the win here. Charity's looks were so beautiful. Oh my god. They truly were amazing. I mean, you got the, roses look, that's so interesting, with, the fun mouth, and, the skin and the paint. It was just so nice. It's really good. She did a great job in this challenge here. And originally Scarlet Harlot was high, which I don't personally see. I feel like I think I saw people, or I remember people being very harsh on her second look, the music look, when this episode happened, but it wasn't that bad. It was like average. In terms of the category, it was like pretty much dead in the middle for me. I feel like Scarlet did a like higher safe job here for me. I would probably rank her like 6th or 5th, maybe. In my opinion, Theresa May is a clear 4th place in this challenge. And then the middle section of the safes gets a bit messy. But I feel like Scarlett did not do like a bad job in this challenge by any means. She just wasn't top material, I feel like. In the bottoms, we also shook up here. Originally, the bottom 2 were Electra Fence and Anubis, and the low placement went to River Medway, but I decided to change that up. I do think River did on like the lower half of the safes in this challenge, but I do think River's look for Medway with the cone on the statue I thought was really stupid and funny. It was a great look. Yeah, in terms of like construction and like actual materials, it's kind of simple. But like the concept and the way she presented it on the runway is so good that it's like, okay, that's like easily one of the more memorable in the top half of its category, I would say. Her other look, she also did a music runway. It was in the lower half, maybe like 3rd or 4th from the bottom, I think, is me remembering kind of where I was like ranking them individually. But I mean, you got one slightly higher, one a bit lower down. That puts you in like the mid to low safes, The person who really got saved here was Veronica Green. Oh my god, her looks are just not great. I mean, the first look, the cotton, it's just like a leotard with some cotton on it. It's like, okay, sure, yeah, Veronica. I know. Veronica Green has stated that because of, the fact that this is like during COVID times and shortly after season 2, she didn't have a lot of money or time to get ready for this season in the way that she wanted to. So I do feel bad for her that like this is what she ended up presenting on the runway. But like I just have to compare it to everything else that's up there and say what is better than everything else and what is worse than everything else. And sadly, Veronica combined, I do think, had the worst looks of the night. So Veronica Green is in the bottom 2. That means I have to bump up either Electra Fence or Anubis into the low placement. I decided to bump up Electra. I thought her Candy, her birthday look, was really good, actually. It's a pretty solid look overall. It has like a full concept, it has the different props, and it has like, the colors work well together. It's very nice, I feel. Whereas with Anubis's like better look, which is her first look, her hometown look, like I get the concept of it, and I think it looks good, but I think in terms of Electra and Anubis, they each had a look that was like not great, and then 2 looks that were solid or solid or like good, solid, whatever word you want to prescribe to it. But I think Electra's was better, so she's gonna end up getting the low placement, and Anubis is gonna be in the bottom 2 with Veronica Green, and they're gonna lip sync to Sweet Melodies by Little Mix. And I do think Veronica would win this lip sync. Now, Anubis did not do a bad job at all in her lip sync to Sweet Melodies. She did not do bad in the slightest, but I do think she was hindered by her outfit. And Veronica was in that computer, like the video games outfit, which is just a jumpsuit. And so she can move in the jumpsuit. Like, that is not an outfit that restricts her mobility in the slightest. And we saw in her lip sync later in the season, which we'll get to down the line, to I Got the Music in Me, that even with an outfit that is decently restricting in terms of movement and mobility, Veronica can do an alright job to a lip sync. So I do think just odds are Veronica would do better. So she is going to stay here and Anubis is going to go. But I'm so sad to see Anubis go. Anubis was literally my winner pick going into this season when it aired. So when Anubis got eliminated episode 1, I was like, oh damn, fuck, I gotta find a new winner pick. It was upsetting. Um, I also think the storyline here with Veronica being the bottom two, being the returning contestant, is really interesting and something that really, like, doesn't get like shown like a lot. You know, it's kind of like a Shangela situation in a way, of not, I mean, not the same, you know, being eliminated and then coming back and then, you know, being bottom two again, episode 1. But I do think, you know, Drag Race shouldn't be afraid to let their returning queens fail on the onset, you know? Because sometimes I feel like they are. So I feel like this would be more interesting, and it's more deserved. Episode 2 is the Dragathon dance challenge. Dance is a word that I used, which is, I guess, the correct word, but it's not a good word. Because this challenge is a fucking hot mess. This is a challenge where I'm like, I feel like you could judge this 15 different ways, and I would say, sure, why not? Like, go off. There's so, like, this challenge is not done well, and it's so confusing to follow. And because it's like so many people are off that you don't know what's on. You know what you mean? Like, everybody's going at a different time. You have no clue who's going at the right time, and it's a terribly stressful. It's a stressful challenge to watch, in my opinion. So I feel like a part of my judging here is kind of inspired by like the actual judging of this. And part of it's just like, you know, I do think this person did better. So originally Crystal Versace won this challenge, which I'm like, it's like, okay. I don't think she won personally. She had some funny moments in there, but I do think the standout of the challenge was probably Kitty Scott Claus, which is why she's gonna win here. Now, she was originally high for this challenge, but I just think her moments were funnier than Crystal's, and I feel like, again, this challenge is so weird. I'm like, I guess it just kind of makes the most sense to give it to Kitty, so let's give it to Kitty. And I kept Veronica Green high as well. I do think this top section is pretty fair. Now, originally in this challenge, we had Charity Case in the low placement, and Vanity Milan and Electra Fence as the bottom two. Now, I just don't see the reasoning at all for Vanity being the bottom. I feel like in her kind of group, she was very safe. She was so safe. And I just don't understand the reason why. She was in the same group as Theresa May, and I feel like Theresa did like an actively worse job than her. So I don't really understand why Vanity was in the bottom, like, at all to begin with, not gonna lie. So for that reason, I decided to take Vanity out of the bottom, make her safe, and then slot Theresa May into the low placement, bumping down Charity Case to the bottom two. That feels the fairest to me personally. Electra was just kind of out of doing too much, a bit out of sync with everybody, and Charity didn't seem to have the biggest grasp of the choreo. And I know that Charity, it seems like Charity was trying to play a character of like a dumb, kind of like bimbo-y mom holding this baby that's doing this choreo. But I feel like I understand that she's like attempting to make a joke with this, but it comes across not fully fleshed out. And it's like, okay, it's like the comedy just doesn't work out, and it just kind of makes Charity seem like they don't know like the choreo super well, and it doesn't, even with that being the joke, it's like I still can't tell if you actually know the choreo or not. Like, I'm honestly not sure. So Charity and Electra are the bottom two here. Everyone else is safe, and they're gonna be lip syncing to "Moving On Up" by M People. I don't know why I sung that. I just kind of had to for my own sanity, because I love that song. It's been on my top 5 on my Spotify before. I'll find a screenshot of it if I can. This would be such an interesting lip sync. Obviously, Electra did a whole fucking lot of shit on this lip sync originally, and would still do that. And I think it'd be really actually interesting. And I think it'd be pretty good. But we've seen Charity lip sync before. They did the lip sync to "Who Do You Think You Are" by the Spice Girls, which is also a very high energy dancey song, and Charity did a great job at it, so I feel like they would also do a really good job on this song. And I think this is one of those songs where, with the different levels of dancing we have here, doing a bit less is what you need to do, and I feel like Electra did a bit too much in this lip sync. I still think she did a great job, but I feel like Vanity did less and matched the tone more. And I feel like Charity would do the same here. Not as good as I think Vanity did it, but I think Charity would end up, being less active, and then matching the vibe better. So I would say that Charity would probably win this lip sync. So Electra Fence is gonna go home here, and we're gonna move on to episode 3. In episode 3, we have this like great outdoors design challenge, where they have to bring one look, like camping look from home, and then make another one in the workroom. And this judging is actually like substantially different than the original judging. Originally, Scarlett was the winner of this challenge, and Crystal and Ella were high. But I decided to keep only one of them in the top, which is Crystal, and I actually ended up giving her the win here. I moved Ella and Scarlett out of the top just because I didn't really I just didn't see I just didn't see it. Comparing everybody's looks together and assigning them point values, which is what I ended up doing for this, for these design challenges in this season. I was like, okay, Ella and Scarlett are, I think they were 4th and 5th, and Charity and River up, so I'm like, okay, yeah, send them to safe, let's do it. That's just the way the cards fell. Crystal, I loved the Girl Scout look. It was so classic and so so stylish. It was really nice. And then the spikes with like the flannel was really, really interesting. And not unexpected in my opinion. So, Crystal really got it together for me. She, absolutely won this challenge. And then Charity had these 2 great looks. Has like the bunny look, and that other yellow look that they do for the design is really good. And then River's looks are also very interesting and kind of classic. Has that black look with the maps on it, which I thought it's like so chic. It's so beautiful. And then her kind of like air hostess, kind of like travel almost look in a way. I really enjoyed all the top 3 contestants' looks here. Safe, we have Ella Day, Kitty Scott Claus, Scarlet Harlot, and Victoria Scone. And Victoria is safe here, and she is gonna be moving on the competition because with this chain of events we have at this point, she ain't breaking ain't breaking her knee, so she's good. I think she would probably do a safe job in this challenge. She could be high. I think she could. I don't imagine her being low. I imagine basically anywhere from 1st through like 7th. So I ended up putting her as safe because I felt like in this challenge there were a lot of contestants with great looks. I think in the top 3 I have Ella, Scarlett, all amazing looks. So I feel like it'd be really hard to crack the top 3, which is why I just was like, okay, we'll just keep Victoria safe. The bottom 3, though, is exactly the same as it was originally. Theresa May is going to be low, and Veronica Green and Vanity Milan are going to be the bottom 2. They're going to lip sync to I Got the Music in Me, and Vanity does a better job here. So Vanity is going to stay, and Veronica is going to go home, as it happened originally. And our returning contestant is going to go home episode 3. And yeah, we're going to be entering episode 4 with an extra contestant because Victoria is still here. So we do have to do a little bit of changing of the way that things happen. So it's going to be interesting. In episode 4, originally, we had the Big Drag Energy Girl Groups challenge, but because we have 9 contestants here instead, and there's only 2 songs, I was like, okay, well that would be kind of a stupid, like doing a group of 4 and a 5. I don't want to do that. Drag Race UK Season 5 did that. It wasn't smart, I don't feel. So I decided to swap the challenges for the girl groups, and the Drag Alexa challenge, which was originally in episode 5. Here, we can just make 3 teams of 3. And there was really there was no like theming or set thing that production gave the Drag Alexa groups to do, and they had to deal with. So you can just add on really as many teams. You can do it in individuals. It doesn't really change anything how you end up structuring the groups, or not groups, for the Draglexa challenge. So that's what's going to be happening here in episode 4. And hopefully these groups will be a bit better. Now, the way that these groups were decided was kind of random. It was essentially me looking at the different ways that the contestants picked each other for the Girl Groups Challenge and the Draglexa Challenge, and the other, mini challenges and stuff throughout the season, and just kind of being like, okay, I feel like these are how they would group up naturally. And I did judge this in teams. So the teams ended up being Victoria Scone, Theresa May, and Ella Day. Then we have Charity Case, Kitty Scott Claus, and Crystal Versace. And then River Medway, Vanity Milan, and Scarlet Harlot. Now, I do think out of these groups, the group of Victoria, Teresa, and Ella would probably do the best. And we've seen all these people do an acting challenge before. And I would imagine either Ella or Victoria would win, but I decided to give the win to Victoria. Because, she's a very, I was gonna say posh. That's not correct. That's immediately strike. But she has a very clear and, newscaster-esque voice. Very, very certain and knowing. And I feel like out of all the people to, present themselves as, well, here's the Draglexa. That's not her voice, but you know what I mean. I think out of all the people that could present this fake product and make it funny, I would imagine Victoria doing the best here. So I decided to give her the win. And Teresa and Ella are going to be high. I do think looking at these groups and their dynamic and what group would work together better, but I do think looking at the safe group and the bottom group, the person who would probably do the best would be River, just because she did the best originally in the Draglexa challenge out of those 6. I think that the group of Kitty, Charity, and Crystal would end up making something better. I think Kitty would probably run the group and have at least a semi-funny concept. And I think Crystal would be able to pull out something with that. Charity, I feel less confident in personally, but I still think they try their best. Whereas I think Scarlet would probably end up trying to run the group on the right and not do a good job. And River would still give a solid performance, and then Vanity and Scarlet would just not do great. So that's why I made those groups safe and the other group in the bottom, and why, River's low and everything regarding all that. So the bottom 2 of Vanity Milan and Scarlet Harlot are going to be lip syncing to Who Do You Think You Are by the Spice Girls. And I'm so glad we get a lip sync between these two, because I think it'd be fun. But Vanity's winning the lip sync. There's no doubt about it. That's just kind of the way it is. Now, part of me was like, do I change the lip sync song here? Because obviously they did Who Do You Think You Are in this episode because it was a girl groups challenge. And, that's a girl group song. It's Spice Girls. Which Spice Girl was there? I think it was... Shit, who was there? I think it was Sporty. I could be so wrong. But remembering back on past videos, whenever I change the main challenge, I don't change the lip sync. As far as I'm aware, I have not done that. If I have done that, you can correct me in the comments if you like. I'm sorry. But as far as I'm aware, I don't ever change the lip sync when I change the actual challenge for the episode. But regardless, even if this was Big Spender, which was the lip sync for the next episode, I think, while Scarlet would fare much better, I still think Vanity could very easily win this. So I do feel that regardless of which song it feasibly could be, Vanity has a better shot of winning overall. So Vanity is going to stay here, and Scarlet is going to leave. A good handful of episodes before she's supposed to. Originally, she gets to, episode 7, I believe? So yeah, we got some new stuff happening here. It's going to be interesting to see. In episode 8, we have the Girl Groups Challenge. And this group picking had a much more methodologically sound way of going about itself. I decided to make the team captains the winner and the bottom 2 survivor from the last week. So that would be Victoria Scone and Vanity Milan. And I went based off of who people chose originally for this challenge. So Victoria, I think, Victoria's a smart girl. She's gonna choose the girl groups. She's gonna choose the girl group impersonator in Kitty. I feel like first. There's no doubt about that in my brain. Vanity's first pick, when given the choice out of all these contestants, was Ella. So she's gonna pick Ella. Then I think Victoria would want the variety. She wants, like the Spice Girls. She wants people who got their own identity and stuff and who can perform. And I think she would want to choose Charity for that reason. Then Vanity, given basically this almost exact same kind of group of people to choose from, chose River. So she's going to choose River. Then Victoria has to choose between Teresa and Crystal. While I do think she could choose either, I think due to the storylines of the season and the relationships and who, giving variety, I think Victoria would probably choose Teresa. So that means Crystal's going to be on the other team. And as it was done originally, I am going to just simply make the winning teams group from the last week being Kitty, Teresa, Victoria, and Charity's version of the song be the faster version, and Ella, Crystal, River, and Vanity's version be the slower version. But I think regardless of who gets fast or who gets slow, I think Vanity's group is winning. It just makes more sense. 3 of the 4 of them won this challenge when they did it. The only person who wasn't in that group being Crystal. But I'm sorry to say to Teresa, I do think out of the original Girl Groups Challenge this season, the winners of Ella, River, Vanity, and Teresa, I feel like Teresa's verse was probably the weakest, in my opinion. Just for me and what I want to see with the group that she had. So I do think replacing her with Crystal is most likely a net neutral. Whereas with the other group, I do think, Teresa is sitting at the same level as Crystal, which is like fine. Charity, and it was like a fine, but like not stellar. Kitty did a pretty good job. And then Victoria, in her challenge, the Girl Groups Challenge on Canada versus the World, ended up doing a like good job, I would say. It was a safe job, but it was a good job. But I do think looking at these verses, like River killed it, Ella killed it, Vanity killed it. They're 3 of like my top 4 in this challenge, along with Kitty. So just due to those purposes, I gotta think that Vanity's group is the winners of this challenge, and they are all gonna get the win here. 4 is like my max amount of wins I'm willing to give out in a single episode, and really it's only for the UK Girl Groups challenges, because that's the only scenario in which it has been established that that is okay, and that I feel comfortable doing it in. Any other really season with a Girl Groups challenge, I'm not going to award the win to 4 people, like, ever. I think I've only actually ever done it once. I did it for season 14 of Drag Race. For the Girl Groups challenge there, I gave Daya, Willow, and Bosco, all 3 of them, the win. But again, very rare circumstances in which I'm giving anybody any season 3 wins like that. And two's like my general, like, if it's in groups like that, you get 2. Let's throw out some 2s. But 4 is really only happening for like this season, and then whenever I end up doing UK season 2, I am going to make the Girl Groups challenge winners there each get a win. And it's actually very interesting that the only UK season I've now not done is season 2. Which is like the most popular season of the UK franchise and like one of the most popular and well-regarded ones of all time. I just haven't done it for some reason. But I do want to do it eventually. Let me know if you want to see it. But yeah, Ella, Crystal, River, Vanity, all getting a win here. The bottom group, I think Kitty would do the best. She's safe. That's a lock. Now, where does Victoria slot in? I do think Charity would do the worst out of Charity, Teresa, and Victoria, so that feels easy to me. The question is she lower, bottom 2? I decided to give her the bottom 2. And it was a close call in my brain, but I decided to do that mainly because in my brain I'm envisioning this group as getting the fast song. And I think Teresa would have an easier, better time camping it up. and doing a performance to the faster version of the song than Victoria would. We saw, like Teresa like makes music. On her UK season 2 talent show, she did the like Welcome to Hell song, which I think I placed her low for. But like she didn't do a bad job in that at all. And like, I think a fast kind of like snappy song, I think Teresa could really like ham up if she wanted, and I feel more confident in that than I do for Victoria. So I decided to put Victoria in the bottom 2 with Charity Case. And they're going to be lip syncing to Big Spender. And I think this would be a close call between Victoria and Charity. But I decided to give the win to Victoria because I do feel like Victoria very reasonably could do better in this lip sync. Again, this is one that I'm like, I really don't have a very clear vision on who would do better in this lip sync just based off of what I know about them. But Victoria does have a better track record up to this point, a very much better track record. That makes it sound like Charity's been like the bottom 2 every week. That's not the case, but it's definitely better. And I think if we're looking at lip sync songs and what I feel confident in Victoria Scone doing, I almost don't feel more confident in her doing almost any song than like Big Spender. That sentence made no sense, but you know what I mean. If I'm choosing a list of songs and I'm like, Victoria Scone would kill this, I think Big Spender's on the list. So it just makes sense to me. So Victoria is going to stay here and Charity is going to go, and we're going to move on to episode 6. In episode 6, we have the Snatch Game. And here we have Victoria Scone. Now, how would she do? I think fine. like she was like safe for the Snatch Game on Canada versus the World, and I imagine that she would do a safe job here as well. Like I do think, honestly, she could. I think she's circling the middle 3 spots. Like I think Ella was by far the best. Kitty was definitely second best. I don't see her cracking top 2. I think Crystal and River were the 2 worst. I don't see her cracking bottom 2. I definitely see either like the 3rd high placement, the low, or the safe. And so I was like, I'll just put her in safe because I do think she's kind of circling that territory. And I don't know what character she would do here, but I think it just makes the most sense since I see her kind of neutralizing somewhere in the middle to just give her the safe placement and make the people who I know do a little bit better than the rest of the pack high and a little bit lower than the rest in the bottom. But yeah, Ella's going to win this challenge. She did originally. She does an amazing job here. She's going to put her food in the microwave. It's perfect. And Kitty is going to be high, along with Teresa May. Now, originally, Teresa was actually in the bottom 2 for this episode, but I feel like a lot of people feel that Teresa did a perfectly safe job in this challenge. Like, I don't see why she was in the bottom 2 at all. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like she was definitely in the original version of the challenge. She was like 3rd or 4th. Like, she did perfectly good. I don't see why she was in the bottom. She's going to move up to that high placement, which sadly means someone new has to enter the bottom, because originally Crystal was low, River and Teresa were in the bottom 2. So Vanity Milan is going to enter the low placement. But she does not do a bad job in the slightest. It is just like in my head, it's like, Vanity, again, she does not do a bad job at all. She's just 5th best. That's simply it. And it's like, it kind of sucks to be low for doing a good job, but this is the way the seasons are judged. I kind of got to judge it like this. So, yeah, she is going to be low here. And the bottom 2 is going to be Crystal and River. River was originally here. A lot of people think Crystal should be here. And I feel the same way. I do think these were the worst 2 of the episode. They're going to lip sync to Shout by Lulu. And while I do think River did a fine job in this lip sync, we saw Krista lip sync on this season, and she did a perfectly great job in both the lip syncs she ended up doing. So I feel like just odds are Crystal's winning this. And sadly, River is going to be eliminated here, which is so upsetting because I love River Medway. I would love to see her again on Drag Race. Get her on versus the World or something. Get her on Global All Stars. I don't care. I want to see River on my TV again. She's magnificent. I love her. Now, in this episode, we had the Fugly Ball. And this is a weird design challenge or ball challenge because in this ball challenge, they had to actually make 2 looks, technically. This is a very interestingly structured challenge, and I wish they would do something like this again. But it does not make it easy to think of for the rejudging. Because, well, for like most ball challenges, I would have 2 out of the 3 looks, and I would just have to envision, based on their showing skills, how well they would do for a third. Now I'm like, okay, I got like a look. And actually for Victoria, I didn't even have a look. I had 1 for Teresa and none for Victoria, as far as I could find. So I really just had to go off vibes. Victoria did great in every design challenge she was in. I mean, she was high for the first one, and the second one I said she would be safe. But, like, you know, I don't think she would do, like, a bad save. She did a perfectly fine safe job. Whereas for Teresa, she was actually almost in the top for the first one, but those were both brought from home looks. And in the second one, where she had to make one herself, it wasn't as great. So I would imagine Teresa would end up being in the bottom 2, just based off of what I know. And then Victoria would sway somewhere either in the high placement or the saves. I decided to give her the high placement though because I do believe in Victoria. I do think the looks that she made could easily be better than the ones that Ella and Kitty made. It wasn't like Ella and Kitty did so amazing that I'm like, okay, well, I guess Victoria's safe. She's got to be safe, I guess. No, I do think there is a very reasonable chance that Victoria could do better, and I think she would do better. So she's going to be high. Crystal Versace, though, is going to win this challenge. Oh my god, she looks stunning in these looks. That kind of like coat look, the multicolored coat, is amazing. It is so beautiful. I love it. Originally Kitty won this challenge, which I just don't particularly get. She, I think, was like a very solid third in this for me, looking based off my judging. I just don't like. I like. She didn't do bad. She didn't do bad at all. But I think basing like the looks and like the transformation and like the point of the challenge as a whole, I think Crystal smashed out of the fucking park. I mean, she also had this fucking like the bathing suit look. I don't know why that took me so long to say, but with like the stuff on the face and this kind of creature from the Black Lagoon-esque, and doing it in such a short amount of time. I mean, it truly like. I loved it. She's such a winner for me here. So Vanity Milan and Theresa May are gonna lip sync to Scandalous by Mystique, and Vanity wins. There's duh. I'm sorry to say, but duh. Like Vanity, this is actively one of the best lip sync performances in Drag Race history from Vanity. So there's truly no thought in my brain of Teresa winning this, sadly. So Teresa is gonna go here. And we're going to move on to episode 8. Now here again, we're actually going to do a little bit of restructuring. Originally in episode 8, we had the Star Wars like parody challenge, Bra Wars. And episode 9, we had the roast. I'm swapping those because the Star Wars challenge had 4 roles in it. And if we kept these episodes the same, we would have to make a 5th role, which wouldn't be super hard. There are these Daleks in there, referencing Doctor Who. You can make somebody a Dalek. That wouldn't be that hard. Alternatively, if you wanted to, there's like this like alien reference of an alien popping out of Kitty's Got Claws in the challenge and the parody. You could have somebody play that as well. There are options, but none of them felt sound enough, and a roast you can do with literally any amount of people. So I was like, okay, let's do another switcheroo. Let's put the roast in episode before and make the acting challenge the final challenge. It also kind of parallels UK Season 2 in a way, which like I think they were kind of trying to not do on purpose in a sense. But, you know, it's more consistent. You know, we're having a comedy challenge at 5 and an acting at 4. Like, you know, it felt better. Now, originally, Victoria Scone was not on this challenge. I do think, I mean, we saw her on Canada versus the World. She aced her roast, her comedy challenge. It wasn't really a roast, it was just kind of a comedy challenge. But she killed it. So I'm immediately thinking, okay, there's no way Victoria's bottom 2. There's absolutely zero chance. She's safe higher winning. And again, this is another scenario where I just feel very confident Victoria. I think looking at Kitty and Ella's performances, neither of them are like infallible. They both could very well be beaten by Victoria's roast. And like looking at and like comparing them also to like UK season 5, I'm like, okay, I'm preferring most of the UK season 5 roast to the season 3 roast. So I feel like, in the grand scheme of roasts, there are better roasts in many different areas of Drag Race than the roast provided by Kitty and Ella. So I feel like if given the chance, Victoria could really ace a roast. And I decided to give her the win here. And I also actually decided to put Kitty above Ella. Originally, Ella won the challenge and Kitty was just high, but now I swapped it. Watched it again the other day. Kitty just did better to me. I felt like the jokes flowed better. There was like less dead air kind of in the edit, which it's the edit, but there felt like there was less dead air. And I just personally thought the jokes were funnier. Crystal and Vanity are gonna be the bottom 2 for this episode, as they were originally, and they are gonna be lip syncing to Something New by Girls Aloud. And this I think would be a very, very close and even lip sync. I think they both would do an amazing job to this lip sync. But just looking at the track records up to this point, Crystal has 3 wins. This is her second bottom 2. Vanity has 1 win. This is her 4th. So this is a no-brainer to me. Crystal's gonna stay here, sadly. Vanity is gonna go. And our top 4 are gonna move on to episode 9. This episode, Bra Wars. We're just gonna assume that Victoria takes the taste Drag Race UK season 2. Takes the space of Vanity Milan here. And plays the little baby. Considering that this is a weird Final 4 acting challenge that we have, which could have been a Final 5, but still would be weird. And it's like, okay, everybody's gonna do at least a good job in this challenge. It would feel weird to put a bottom 2, so we're just gonna make this a top 2 like it was originally. With Kitty and Ella being the top 2. And Crystal and Victoria just placing safe. They're going to be lip syncing to Hallucinate by Dua Lipa. And just looking at the lip syncs that they provided on the season, the first lip sync these two had to Something New, and the second one to You Don't Own Me. In my opinion, Kitty did better in both of those lip syncs than Ella did. Not by like grand margins, but like I do think she did better. So just knowing what I know about their lip syncing styles and the way that they lip sync, I just have more faith in Kitty. So Kitty is going to win here. And Elle's going to get the top 2 placement, and we're just going to move on to the finale. Now this was a tricky one. This was a tricky bitch right here. I really struggled on who I thought would win this season, because I wanted to take the finale into account. This is the same tops of the season we had originally, except we have Victoria Scone here added in. And looking at this episode, they did a Hey Sis, It's Christmas songwriting challenge. Earlier, Victoria was in the bottom 2 on the season 4 challenge of this caliber, but I don't think she did a bad job, like in the scenario where she gets a bottom 2 here for that. And as we saw in Canada versus the World, she can do a good song. She can perform it. She's not gonna do terrible. She's gonna do at least a perfectly fine job, Like I don't expect a scenario where she does worse than average. So I feel like, everybody in this episode is gonna do at least an okay job. Looking and thinking of like my ranking of these verses and the way that they do, I would say like Ella's is probably my favorite performance. Then I suspect Victoria, then Crystal, then Kitty. But then looking at the lip sync at the end of the episode, ooh boy, do Ella and Kitty not do the bestest job here. I would think that Crystal would do the best. Then probably like Victoria, Kitty, then Ella. So it's like almost kind of backwards in a way. So kind of like averaging out like the main two aspects of this episode being that performance and the lip sync. Crystal does like the best in this finale, then Victoria, then Kitty, or actually, sorry, then Ella, then Kitty is kind of the way that I would put it. But that doesn't mean everything. That just kind of gives me something to go off of. And then looking at the track records for the season, which we'll get to shortly, while Ella is the best, then Kitty, and then Victoria and Crystal are actually tied, they're all super close to each other. They're literally like, I think Crystal and Victoria have a 3.44 PPE score, and Ella has a 3.71. In terms of like the actual numbers added up to get to that PPE score, which is like a much bigger set of numbers, Victoria and Crystal's number is 31, and Ella's is 33.5. Like, it is so close. It is ridiculously similar. So, like, there is, like, that doesn't really factor in much to me at all, personally. And because I do feel like there's a kind of, like, very even, average, good job all around in the track records and in the performances in this finale, I also have to go off of, I feel, what is the most satisfying win? What makes the most sense? What follows the narrative of the story well of the season? And I feel like if I had to choose a top two, it would probably be Crystal and Victoria, who end up doing the worst out of the top four. But I feel like if they both were in the competition the whole time, they would have a much bigger storyline, the two of them. And Victoria being the first cis woman to compete on RuPaul's Drag Race, I feel like, you know, we would get to hear a lot more of her story in that respect on her first time around here. And I think she would end up being the main character of the season. So, like, even though she has a bottom two where Ella and Kitty don't, I don't see why Victoria shouldn't win. I feel like based off of the information that I have and all the metrics that I can use to like try and decipher who would be the best winner, and just also kind of going with my gut and what I want, I feel like it makes the most sense for Victoria to be the winner. Storyline has it on lock. The best. In terms of the finale performance, I would say the second best. In terms of the actual performance, like all the way throughout the season, is tied for third, but by basically nothing. As I mentioned earlier, I very easily could have put her as low for that girl groups challenge. Would have put her like a point away. Some people put, when there's a non-elimination, if it's like a top four, they'll do a win a top two and two highs. Could have done that as well. They would have been like tied. So, you know, like I could have made very minor changes and made them have the same or just like a literally half a point or a point off PPE scores. So I feel like just looking at it all, going with my gut and going off the data, it just feels the best to give the win to Victoria. So that's what's going to happen. Here are the track records, by the way. A win is worth 5 points, top two is 4.5, high is 4, safe is 3, low is 2, bottom is 1, and elimination is 0. But yes, that is going to be it for this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you wish. Leave your thoughts, feelings, and opinions down below. As always, I will leave my Twitter linked down below if you want to go follow me on there. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, take care. Bye-bye.